Stash is back. Tell a friend. Well, hey all, it's Captain Mustachio, the bright and shining star of Myths and Mustaches, which is a beautiful audiobook podcast about my adventures on the high seas with me and my very semi-capable and semi-intelligent pirate crew. If you noticed, I'm a little, under the weather from my voice. I've been sick for a week with scurvy, which brings me to my pirate fact of the week. What the heck is scurvy, and why do pirates get it? Well, scurvy is actually an illness brought on by a severe lack of vitamin C. It causes these weird, awful symptoms like, fevers, random bruises, blood under your skin, tooth loss, and my personal favorite, bleeding gums. So, how do you fix that, you ask? Well, fruits, vegetables, and a well-balanced diet. But how does one do that on a boat when you've been sailing for months on end? The pirates and sailors would take cargo of lemon or lime juice with them. We drink it or we mix it in with our rum, and that's what helps prevent scurvy. Pretty cool, right? Wrong. You're so wrong all the time, okay? It's a conspiracy, okay? Listen up, y'all about to get educated. So, now, I've been quarantined to my captain's quarters for a 10-day period because of scurvy. And then the rest of the crew are just mindless followers who are believing everything the King of England says and wearing masks and eating limes. And that's why they call those dumb British sailors limeys anyway. And now they're saying they've developed a citrus vaccine that will help lessen symptoms. So it doesn't even prevent scurvy, and you have to just keep getting them like every year. Well, I, for one, am not gonna stand for this. I refuse to bow to the government telling me what I should eat and drink and controlling my life like I'm a sheep, okay? It's not even killing anyone. I haven't had a lemon in like 4 months, and I feel fat. I just swallowed a tooth. The irony. Anyway, yeah, and get this. Guess who the government is getting backed by through all of this to make this death vaccine? 2 giant corporations, Limzer and Mandarinderna. You guessed right. Big citrus. Chapter 7. Just Chapter 7. That's it. I couldn't think of anything witty. Captain Mustachio and the princess trudged through the jungle night, heading towards the opposite mountainside. They were tired, hungry, and wiped out from the previous battles and excursion. Where are we headed now? Asked Reneliana. You see that small glow in the distance? I'm guessing that's the natives' hideout. We still have to save whoever survived that they captured, said Captain Mustachio. Are you crazy? It's just the 2 of us. How can we possibly save an entire crew against an army of crazed islanders? Said Reneliana, putting a hand on Captain Mustachio. Mustachio whipped around and grabbed her hand and said, Listen here, girl. I've killed hundreds of men and made out with thousands of women. I've sailed every ounce of this ocean and braved storms that no other pirate would face. I've delivered babies and danced with Norwegian bards in the mountains of Capistrano. There hasn't been a fight I've ever backed down from, but a captain ain't no captain without a crew. So you can stay, but this mustache and these abs are gonna go save me a crew. Can you dig it? She nodded approvingly. I said, can you dig it? He shouted. Yes, she exclaimed. Her knees were caving in at the power and majesty of this commanding Mexican mustache. She had never felt this way before. She was so vulnerable and giddy. Then let's go, baby, said Captain Mustachio, turning and sauntering down the pathway once again. She stood in awe of the captain. She had never seen this side of him before, and she liked it. She raced up to his side and continued walking with him in stride. After what seemed like an age of silence, Reneliana spoke up first. Captain Mustachio? Asked Reneliana. Would it be? Replied Captain Mustachio, his aura of coolness still making the back of her knees sweat. What's your first name? If you don't mind me asking, asked Reneliana. Captain Mustachio suddenly did not know what to say. Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry, said Reneliana, turning her eyes toward the ground. My name isn't really Mustachio, Captain Mustachio scratching the back of his head, embarrassed. Wait, what? Then what is it? Asked Reneliana. It's Jacoby Jamal Jackson III. No, it's not, laughed Reneliana, and let out a small snort like a little piggy. But it's cool. I mean, my friends call me Triple J or 3GZ, explained Captain Mustachio as he puffed out his chest and his mustache. Your friends don't really call you that, do they? Well, no. But if they knew my real name, they totally would, 'cause it's super awesome, replied Captain Mustachio. Well, I like it. It's a very handsome name, smiled Reneliana. Her kind words pierced deep into Mustachio's heart and gave him a fierce mustache erection. He rigorously shook it off before she noticed. So, what's up, girl? Inquired Captain Mustachio, becoming more confident as he looked her up and down. The princess stepped in front of him. Her eyes were blazing with passion. She inched her face closer to his. His mustache bristled with anticipation and excitement. And at that very cock-blocking moment, a shout erupted from the woods in the direction of the camp. Get off of me or I'll piss on your face, said the voice. Captain Mustachio shoved Reneliana's face out of the way. That was Rick's voice. He's alive, exclaimed the captain. Quick, Nellybelly, let's go save them. The two of them silently raced to the edge of the nearby forest, which was a hillside overlooking the encampment. Hundreds of natives were scattered around a giant stone statue of a man holding a spear in one hand, and in the other was... It's the Piedra del Mar, whispered Captain Mustachio in excitement. The glorious shining blue gem was sitting on the palm of the statue's right hand. The statue was obviously an idol of the natives' god king, as the inhabitants surrounding it were bowing in worship. On the outskirts of the encampment, tied to a totem pole, was Pirate Rick. He was still completely nude and painted black. Rick, whispered Captain Mustachio. Pirate Rick looked up at the sound of his name, and a giddy expression took over his face. Captain, you're alive? I wasn't totally sure if I killed you two or not, whispered Pirate Rick. You beautiful idiot. No, we're okay. Hold on. I'm gonna cut you loose, replied Captain Mustachio. He turned to look at Reneliana and said, Stay here, Nelly. I have a plan. But before she could finish, he shoved his finger onto her lips fiercely. Shh, girl. Everything gonna be all good, whispered the captain to his boo. She nodded and backed up to let the captain through. With the prowess of an Afghani tiger moth, he silently made his way to the edge of the camp to Pirate Rick. Pulling out a small knife, Mustachio sliced through Pirate Rick's ropes and freed him. Mustachio, they've captured most of the crew and are holding them in an arena at the opposite side of the camp. I think they're gonna have the men fight some sort of beast to the death in a coliseum. They got angry at me for peeing on them, so they tied me up over here where I could relieve my bowels in peace. So what's the plan, Captain? Asked Pirate Rick quietly. Rick, do you still have any of those black rocks on you? Asked Captain Mustachio. Oh yeah, I keistered one up my butt while we were at camp just in case something happened, replied Pirate Rick. Why did you put a rock in your butthole just in case? Because I don't have pockets when I'm naked, dummy? Rick scoffed and looked at him incredulously. Rick, that's weird, disgusting, and, at the moment, amazingly brilliant, said the captain. Pirate Rick smiled. All right, so here's the plan. Captain Mustachio whispered a few things into Pirate Rick's ear. He nodded approvingly and smiled at the cunning of his boss's plan. Got it? Asked Captain Mustachio. Got it, answered Pirate Rick, and he silently dashed into the jungle on his way behind the statue. I really hope this works, thought Captain Mustachio to himself as he raced back to the jungle for Reneliana. Princess, I have a plan, but I need you to trust me, all right? Insisted Captain Mustachio, gripping her shoulders. I'll trust your mustache to the end of the earth, she said, smiling. Good. I need you to stay here and be safe. Oh, and one more thing. Captain Mustachio leaned in ever closer. Yes, Captain. Anything, she said, staring into his eyes. Give Daddy some sugar, he said, and without warning, shoved his face into hers. It was a glorious face battle of mouth, tongue, and mustache. After several disturbing seconds of this, the captain pulled away and ran off towards the arena, giggling as he went. Renelia sat down. Her face was numb from the pleasure. Her mind raced with all the moments of the past few days that led up to here, and she smiled at how she had become so lucky to find the man of her dreams. Unbeknownst to our poor heroine, a shadowy figure approached and grabbed her from behind.
Hey guys, thank you all so much for listening to Myths and Mustaches. My name is Logan, and I am the creator, author, editor, and voice actor for Myths and Mustaches. The intro and outro music for Myths and Mustaches was performed and recorded by the very talented Max Faith. If you loved it like I did, go check out more of his stuff at maxfaith.bandcamp.com. That's maxfaith.bandcamp.com. And if you liked what you heard from my silly stories and want to be a sponsor for my project, you can check out more of my stuff out on my Patreon at patreon.com/mythsandmustaches. And if you're already a subscriber, then I just want to tell you that I love you. And you're kind of my favorite. And I've sometimes thought about you romantically. And if you're not a subscriber, then, well, I guess we can still be friends. Again, thank you guys so much for listening and subscribing, and stay tuned for more piratey nonsense in the upcoming weeks. Sound effects for this chapter were provided by Music for Video and Zapsplat. All these contents and their creators can be found at www.zapsplat.com.